why did you decide to pursue both? I thought one is already difficult enough or painful enough.
So people actually, they think they know everything or they don't put enough time to work. And then when the exam comes, they actually fail.
If I ask you just one piece of the advice that you can give for those people who wanted to succeed in finance, who want to work in finance.
I think a lot of people do the things for the wrong reasons. Like if you want to pursue like a designation like the CFA or CAIA just because you want to get more money and not be happy about it, I don't think that's like worth pursuing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Charlene's podcast. Today, I'm going to discuss some really exciting topics about finance learning, especially regarding CFA and CAIA exams. Together with Urmi. Urmi Hossain has over 7 years of work experience in the finance industry, and she's a CFA Charterholder as well as a CAIA Charterholder. She's currently based in Canada. Hello, Urmi. How are you?
I'm good, and
Welcome.
you? Thank you.
Yeah, very good. I know you are you started to be a CFA charter holder since 2019, right? If I remember correctly.
No.
No.
2019 is when I started the journey. I only got
Okay,
the
you
charter in
finished it
2023.
2022. Yeah, and after that you pursue CAIA as well. So my first question, Umi, is like, why did you decide to pursue both? I thought one is already difficult enough or painful enough.
Yes. So for the CFA program, I actually started in 2019 and I got my charter in 2023 and not in 2022. I'm just making a little corrections there. And basically with this CFA program, how it worked is that I was already coming from a background in finance, and I wanted to further pursue my studies. And because I'm someone who doesn't like to make my life easy, I was like, you know what, why not start with the CFA? I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning because I wasn't sure like if it was a good idea. I was also worried about all these stories I was hearing about the CFA program. But I was like, you know
What
what?
did you hear about it before you do it?
Well, I heard about like how hard it is, how people, fail the exams. Some people take forever to pass all of the exams. But I also knew one thing, which is something that that characterized me, which is the fact that I always felt like studying and I always felt like learning. So I was like, you know what, that's all I need for
You
me
love
to
the pain. Is it fair to say so?
yeah. Yeah. So then I started with the CFA program. So that it was basically in 2019 it started, and then of course COVID happened and they had to postpone my exam like twice. So level 2 I had to take it like I took it like way later, like a year later or a year and a half later. And then I gave level 3 in February 2023, and then that's how my journey ended with the CFA program.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
I
then
was thinking, apart from,
yeah,
you said you love learning, but
yeah.
I believe it's not the only reason why you took CFA and CAIA, right? So I believe, I don't know, is like what other values that do you think it brings to you, the two certificates? Or, I mean, it can be just pure passion, pure interest, pure, the fact that you love learning.
Yeah, it is also pure passion. It is, for me, it
Okay.
was because, I could have just stopped there. Like I could have just been happy with my bachelor degree, but I was like, no, I want to continue studying. And then
Oh,
with
okay.
this CIA, basically, what happened with that is that I attended there was a workshop where they were talking about this program, and that's where it sparked my interest. But I told myself I'm gonna do this after the CFA, and so that's how I started with the CIA. And what happened is that I got an exemption because basically the program, it consists with two exams. So you have level 1 and level 2. It's very much structured like the CFA program, but you only have 2 exams. And basically what happened is I got an exemption from level 1 because I already had my CFA charter. And so then all I had to do is just prepare for level 2. For level 2, what happened is I actually started studying for it in October 2023, and then in March 2024 I gave my exam, and then in May or April 2024 I got the results. And that's how I basically became also a CIA charter holder. Of course, like it is my passion, but it's also something that I was going to pursue regardless because it's personal satisfaction, but I also needed them also for the
For your
work that I
job.
want to do. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Since like, yeah, in the wealth management or asset management industry, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
believe, how to help your client manage a portfolio, investment
Yeah. Yeah.
portfolio, that these two certificates definitely play a huge role. You definitely learn a lot, I believe, as well. So Woodman, the next question I have for you is, I only did CFA 3 years, level 1 to 3, and you did both. So, I mean, just based on your experience in terms of the level of effort and the study required for both exams, for me, I know that CFA, roughly every level, you need 300 hours minimum. Like for me, I think it took me even more hours because I didn't really have a finance degree before I took it. I studied literature before. So I want you to say, how would you compare the level of effort and study required for CFA versus CAIA?
So definitely, there is no doubt that the CFA program is much, much, much harder. It's like no brainer. Like it is much
Mm-hmm.
harder than the CIA program. But here's the thing: I cannot even fully speak for that program because I didn't do level one. I only did level two directly, and basically what it's recommended to, like, what are the recommended hours for the CIA exam is that you actually put 200 to 250 hours minimum. But here's the thing,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
it is still difficult because you have multiple choice questions and you have essay questions like the CFA level 3 exam, and you still have to put the hours and you still have to put the work. Because I think the problem with this program is that people actually, they think they know, they know everything, or
Mm-hmm.
they don't put enough time to work, and then when the exam comes they actually fail. And
They
basically with the
underestimated,
yeah,
basically, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And with the CAIA program, basically the whole issue is that there's a lot to know. It's very detailed, like it's very detail oriented. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
theories. There is a lot of things that you have to memorize, a lot of rules, and there are some of the things that overlap with the CFA program, but not everything. Like it's much more focused in alternative investments. And
Mm-hmm.
so you still have to put the hours. Of course, like you cannot, like I would say it's like it's a little bit like in between CFA level 1 and CFA level 2 maybe, or yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or sort of like in terms of difficulty, but it's also very subjective, I think, because I still put a lot of hours when I was studying for the CAIA level 2 exam, because you have like
Mm-hmm.
9 readings and it's very much structured like the CFA level 3 exam. So you have
Oh,
like
okay.
command
You need
words
to,
and
do you need to write essays?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You have like command words, and then you need to make sure that you have read the book, because they do ask you for the little details in the exam. So it's very detail oriented. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you really have to put the hours and the work. Like you should not underestimate it just because it's like slightly easier than the CFA
Mm.
program, because we still have people that do not pass. So
Okay.
yeah,
Even though you may have already CFA, you
yeah, yeah,
still,
yeah,
there's a
yeah, yeah,
chance
yeah,
that you
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
pass
yeah, yeah,
CAIA, CAIA, or
yeah.
so. If I think if I want to summarize, I think probably it's fair to say that if you really want to compare the two, CFA probably a bit harder compared with CAIA, but still you need to put effort, put
Yes,
hours.
yes.
Umi, my next question to you is about the curriculum, since you already mentioned for CAIA or for CAIA is basically about alternatives, right? Hedge fund, I believe, real
Mm-hmm,
estate, and private
mm-hmm,
equity, the main
mm-hmm.
asset classes we're currently talking about. So, as CFA, we also have a whole chapter or a whole subject about alternatives, right? I remember I also put a lot of effort when study that as well. So I wanted to, ask you, can you provide an overview of the main difference between CFA and CAIA? So what did you study and what did you learn?
So basically in the CAIA program, it's like I said, it's very heavily focused in alternative investment. So you have
Mhm.
like 9 readings or 9 chapters, not 9 like 9 Yeah, you can. Yeah, 9 readings, and within each reading, you have like all these various topics, and basically, it does heavily talk about hedge funds, derivatives. You have, of course, private equity is also very big. There is a part about institutional investors, which is something that you also have seen in the CFA program.
Yeah,
And
for level 3, if I remember correctly,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
wealth
It's
investors and
yeah, yeah,
institutional investors.
yeah. So in that sense, like that's the like one of the chapters that I remember like overlapping, and then basically in the curriculum they also talk about like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
When I did CFA, we didn't have Bitcoin. I don't remember I learned anything about Bitcoin. Did you also learn something about Bitcoin when you did CFA? No, right?
no, I don't know if
No.
they have it right now in the curriculum, but I know that when I was taking it, it was not there. They also went through a change now in the CFA curriculum. Like I
Yeah.
think you have like pathways or something like that.
Okay.
But in when I
In
did
CAIA.
basically in CAIA, basically you had Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Oh,
You
wow.
also had a section about different regulations around the world, like how each country, like what are the regulatory bodies in each country. So in like, let's say in the States, you have SCC, then you have like MAS in Singapore, like things like that. That's also another part of the curriculum. You also have ethics as well. That it's, I think
Oh,
it's pretty
yeah,
much
that's very
everywhere.
important.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course, like you have a little bit of not a little bit of statistics as well, where they talk about the different models to come up with the numbers, which we have seen in the CFA program. So basically, it's just much more detailed when it comes to alternative investment, and there are like different models, different theories, things that you have not seen in the CFA program. You only saw in the you only see like in the alternative investment. Like I remember, like studying some of the things and be like, okay, I've never seen this in my whole life. But the fact that I had the CFA as a background did help me a little bit, because not everything was completely new to me, and some of the things I also have done them in my bachelor
You
degree.
also study
Yeah,
finance in
yeah,
your bachelor's
yeah,
degree. Okay.
yeah. So that also, like, it wasn't completely new. Like when I saw the models about like the different statistical models, like it wasn't new for me, because I was like, okay, I know what's going on. But I can see that for someone who doesn't have that background, it can be hard. It can be really hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me it was super hard when I did CFA level 1. I remember, because I really didn't understand, the basics. For example, a
Right.
stocks and bond. What's the difference between the two? I need to, start to study that, learn that
Yeah.
from scratch. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. So now, Wumi, I really wanted to ask you a question about the value of the two certificates. I think that is also a topic or an area that a lot of our audience are interested in as well. Is a really, you mentioned like it's out of your interest, out of your passion. A lot of people, they ask me, oh, Charlene, does it really bring you value as a CFA charter holder, if compare with that if you didn't do it, for example? So I really wanted to ask, how these two certificates have helped you in terms of your career advancement, career progression. A lot of people may be very interested. Oh, I want to earn more. I want to earn a higher salary. So people suggest me do a CFA or CAIA. So what is your thought on this?
So here's the thing. I think a lot of people do the things for the wrong reasons. Like if you want to pursue like a designation like the CFA or CAIA just because you want to get more money and not be happy about it, I don't think that's like worth pursuing. Like I always think that if anytime you pursue like a designation, it always brings value. Like it brings you personal value. Like let's forget about the professional part. For sure, it's going to bring you personal value because you're going to learn a lot of new things. But if you just want to pursue it because you want to get more money, but then you don't have, let's say, the willingness to study, you don't feel like studying, you feel like you're demotivated, discouraged, and there's no point that you spend 6 months studying for each of the level and then not be happy about it. Because I know people who were basically mentally drained from studying for the CFA exams. But I
Mentally destroyed.
Yes, Yes,
Oh,
mentally
wow.
destroyed.
Okay.
They're mentally drained because they were studying for this. They just wanted to get somewhere because they felt like, oh, everyone has it, so I also want to have the CFA designation. But if you don't have an actual purpose in life, then I don't think it's worth pursuing it, because it is a lot of time. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of sacrifices. Like, I know people that give up on the program after level 1 because they were exhausted of repeating the same exam 3-4 times, and they were tired also of like saying no to people, not being present in like people's life, like from a social aspect point of view. You have to like say no to all the distractions, no to events, no to seeing friends and stuff like that.
Very true. Yeah.
It's not worth it in that sense. I think that if you want to pursue it, you want to make sure that you have a goal in mind. Like, do I want to do this because I think it's going to help me? Is this something that I want to do? Like, you have to think if this is something that you truly want to do because you love studying, you feel like you're okay to give up a couple of years of your life studying for it because you feel like you want to
It
become a
sounds so horrible. You are willing to give up on a
but
few
it is
years
true.
of your life.
But it is true. Like, I know
Yeah,
that some people took
it
10
is
years
true. It
to just,
sounds horrible. It is
but
true.
it
I
is
have to
true
admit that as well. Yeah.
because I know that people took 10 years just to get the CFA, those 3 letters next to their names. But it's
Yeah.
like, you have to think about what do you want to achieve also from a professional level. Like, you want to become a portfolio manager, you want to become a financial advisor, and you feel like you need that, okay, then go ahead. But you also have like alternative certification if you want to make your life slightly easier. I do think that I feel like as a woman in finance, it did add a lot more value in me because I feel like people look at you different. Like, you
Okay,
feel,
tell me more, Urmi. I'd love to hear this part more.
I do think people
How
look at
people look at you differently, for
you, not
example.
me, not me. I'm saying in
I mean, in
general.
general.
In general, I do think people look at you with much more respect. They do see that, they see those 3 names next to your name, and they know the work that was behind. Like, they see that she's a hardworking person, someone who really was dedicated, passionate about studying for this exam. Like, it shows like all these values behind your name. And I think this is the added value with this CFA. Like I remember even before I was pursuing the CFA designation, every time I was looking on, like, let's say on LinkedIn, people that had those 3 letters next to their name, I was like, I would like to have that too, because you look at these people differently. You look at them with much
More
more respect.
professional.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and people like you are much more credible because like what you're talking about. You know what you have dealt, you know what you're going to deal with. Like, it's in that sense, I think it's that's how it adds a lot of value, especially for women in finance. Like, I still feel like we don't have that women in finance studying
Yeah,
finance. We don't have people pursuing their designation in the CFA program. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I think now I forgot it's I think even CFA Institute, when I was learning it a few, so many years ago already, they even launched a women in finance or
Oh,
women, like a scholarship. I forgot the
okay.
name, but it's something that's quite, they encourage more and more girls in school or women to pursue this designation. So I think, a lot of organizations, for example, like CFA Institute, they also recognize this issue as well, the gender issue, diversity issue in the industry. With another question, a lot of people, they keep asking me, especially for those younger generation or those people who are in their year 3, year 4, or fresh graduate, they keep asking me, oh, should I do CFA or should I do CAIA? Will it be easier for me to get a job in the finance industry? For those people who don't have any job experience, who are very, very, very fresh in the job market, do you think, I believe you, more or less, you are also a hiring manager, to some extent.
No,
So
no,
what
no,
do
no, no. I'm not a
or
hiring
based on
manager.
your experience, do you think it will bring them value in terms of getting a job as a fresh graduate?
So here's the thing: as a fresh graduate, I think what you need first of all is experience. So no matter how many degrees, how many certifications you have, it will not get you anywhere unless you have the experience. Because I think I like I've seen from experiences and from people that I have met is that when you're going for your first job, it's always going to be hard. But just because you have, let's say, you have passed the
No
CFA level
experience. Yeah.
1, you have like, if you don't have the experience, no one is going to hire you. I think here's what I always suggest people is that you should always highlight all the things that you can bring as a person. Like, I think your skills are much more important than, showing that you have the CFA designation. Because I also know people that, have the CFA designation and they're not good employees. So it does not mean anything, like, yes, it helps you to, get that first interview, but you have to be able to sell yourself when you're going for an interview, like no matter how many degrees or certifications that you have. But what I would suggest to a fresh graduate is that when you're looking for a job, go ahead and apply for jobs, and then you can tell them that you have an interest in pursuing the CFA designation. And I always suggest people to start with the CFA designation or with any certification as soon as they start working, because a lot of companies, they actually pay for you. Like, they will pay for you to pursue the designation. So it's an advantage for you, because you don't have to pay from your own pocket, because you have the company paying
It's
for
quite
you.
expensive, right?
Yeah,
Every
It's
level
quite
for CFA, I know is like it's around 1,000 USD for
no,
each level,
exactly,
around that, right?
exactly. So, like, you can tell them during an interview you have an interest in pursuing the designation, but I think your job
That's
should
a
be
good
more to
tip.
be able to sell yourself and show who you are as a person and how you can bring value to the company. Like, having CAIA, CFA, like, it's not going to help you anything. Like, I also, when I initially started in the industry, I had none of it. I actually started with my CFA designation in 2019, and I started working in 2016. So it was like literally 3 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 3 years after. But I feel like 3 years after, I was more clear on my ideas. Like, I knew what I wanted to do. I had I had a clear path, and I think it's something that will come with time. It's something that will come with, as more like the more you're working in the industry, it's something that will come also with age. So I think when you're fresh out of university, I think sometimes you're a little bit lost too. Like, you're not sure where to go. So, like, my advice is be able to sell yourself in an interview.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on this. A lot of people, they keep asking me as well the same question. I would say at the end of the day, if whether you get hired or not, it really depends on who you are as a whole package. With soft skills, hard skills together combined, you can bring to your team, to your hiring manager, to the company, instead of just designation. Indeed, it helps you a bit. You earn
Yes.
respect, but at the end of
Yes.
the day, it's still something like what we call icing on the cake.
Yes.
Yeah, I still have one more question with me before I let you go. So just want you to say, if I ask you just one piece of the advice that you can give for those people who wanted to succeed in finance, who want to work in finance, any one last tip or secrets or anything that the last piece of advice that you want to give those people or young people?
Well, for the young people who want to be successful in finance in general, and this is something that I always tell to the people that I mentor, to the people that I have interacted with, is to always advocate for yourself, especially if you are new in the industry. Like, you always have to stand up for yourself. If there are things that you want to do, things that you do not like, things that are unfair to you, you always have to speak up for yourself, because no one will do it, and no one knows you more than yourself. So I always say, like, advocate for yourself no matter where you are in your career, even in university. Like, always make sure that you are your best cheerleader. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, don't wait for anyone to
No,
promote you. Promote yourself, advocate for
exactly.
yourself. I really, really love it. Thank you so much, Wumi, for taking your time to do this podcast with me. So, one last thing, tell us, how can we find you? Do you
Yes.
use LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, or?
Yeah, I have a LinkedIn profile. It's called the Urmi Hossain. I also have a YouTube channel where I give tips about the CFA and the CAIA program. So it's called
Yeah, we'll
Urmi
put the link here.
Hossain. And I also have an Instagram account. It's called Urmanio. People can connect with me in any of the three platforms.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Wumi, for your time. So I'll see you soon. And thank you, everyone, for joining this session.
Thank you.